Today we're going to do some breathing exercises, so trying to really encourage the breath to move into the back and the side of the rib cage, and just to really help to raise your awareness of your breathing pattern. So we're just going to start by bringing our hands around the rib cage, kind of around the bra strap area is quite a good place to really feel the kind of chunky bit of the ribs. And I want you just to take some breaths there and try and notice if your rib cage is moving at all to start with. And if you don't really feel it moving, see if you can send your breath into the ribs a little bit more. Inhale into your hands and exhale, and just feel your hands soften down. Now we're going to just start to, this is a bit of a weird one, we're going to start just to do a little bit of tapping and kind of waking up our awareness of our rib cage. So if you just bring your hand sort of in between your boobs almost, and you're just going to start tapping with your fingers or your knuckles, wherever you're more comfortable, into that area, and just seeing as you tap if you can send your breath into that area to really wake it up. Trying to feel an awareness, so it's not somewhere that we necessarily think about an awful lot. Trying to use that tapping and that feedback from your hands to give you an increased awareness and the ability to think about breathing into that area a little bit more. And then you're going to bring your hand around to the sort of front side of the rib cage. And again, try and breathe into there. And the idea of this is that we just want to start, and I actually prefer doing this with the opposite hand, so you can do it with the same hand, or you can come round to the back of the rib cage now. And I mean, I go for the lower bit. If you've got a chance to do this with a partner, you can get somebody to tap you at the top of your rib cage as well, which is a good one, because we can get a bit stuck up there as well. But I'm going to assume that we're all doing this on our own, and stick with the ones that you don't need a partner for. So again, is this somewhere that you've ever even thought about breathing? Are you using your lungs to their full capacity? A lot of us, breathe to sort of 3/4 of the way down our lungs, and then just don't get into that last little bit. That is, every bit counts, and every bit of breath that you can get into your body is going to help you in a myriad of ways. So now we're going to move on to the other side, and again, send your breath into the area that you're tapping, and just kind of, it's not only about, you may not really be able to get your breath to move into that area right now, and that's okay, but it's just waking it all up. Have you ever even considered this lower part of your ribs? Have you ever thought about it? You may have found that when you were pregnant, or in the early postnatal days, that your rib cage really moved. Have you thought about it since then, since that change happened? Have you ever considered your rib cage? And then again, I'm going to use, oh no, I've done it the other way around. I obviously prefer using my right hand. It doesn't matter which hand you use. I don't like doing it like that. So I'm going to use the right hand to do the left side of the ribs, but you can use whatever hand you're comfortable with. Didn't realise quite how dominant I was. So again, breathing into the rib cage here. And again, you may find that you can't breathe into that. And you may also find that there's a difference between the sides as you're doing it. So you may feel like your right side is less restricted than your left, or vice versa. And again, a lot of this program is all about raising your awareness of these things. So it's not necessarily that you're going to change that today, or you're not probably going to change that today, but that you're just starting to think, oh, actually, I'm much tighter on my right side. Is that because I always hold my child on the right? Is it because I always, when I'm working, do a certain thing on that right hand side? And those things are just as important as the exercises, is just building up that awareness of your body. So now you're going to breathe back in to your rib cage, and I can feel that really has opened things up and allowed my breath to move a little bit more. So hopefully you can feel that too. So now we're going to clasp your hands behind your back and just gently lift your breastbone to the ceiling, and take some nice big breaths there. Again, noticing where the breath moves to, so you may find that you start to get a little bit more into your belly again. See if you can focus, and the key thing as well is that we don't really want to breathe into this top part of the chest with every breath, but if you're stuck in that area, then it's going to have an impact on where whether you can breathe into other parts of your rib cage. So although you don't want to be in this position all the time, in this posture, for every breath you take, feeling that lovely sense of opening through the front of the spine. You may be able to feel that you might have some restrictions around your diaphragm. It might be quite hard to breathe into this area. And then you're going to give yourself a bit of a hug almost, or in fact imagine like you're hugging a tree in front of you, or a big beach ball. And then notice how it feels to breathe in here. Think of sending your breath in between your shoulder blades. And again, you may feel really stuck here. I know that I do. It may feel that you're struggling to get that sense of moving the breath into the back of your body, but that's what we're here to work on, to try and get the breath moving into there more, but also again just to raise your awareness of whether that is the case for you. And then slowly roll yourself up, and then come to sit, maybe with your legs crossed in front of you, or just reaching out in front. Find your sit bones, so move your bum cheeks out the way a little bit, and really try and sit directly on top of your sit bones, so you're really lengthening out of your lower back. And then you're just going to reach over into, not even really a side bend, because you're really focusing on the movement coming from your rib cage. And then you can bring your opposite hand around the side of the ribs, and again try and breathe into that side. And then come back to the center and go the other way. Breathe into that stretch. And again, notice the difference between the sides. You may really feel that one side is much tighter than the other. And there's nothing wrong with that, it's really normal. We all favour one side, who doesn't prefer to use one hand than the other when you're writing, when you're doing anything at all. But just bringing your awareness to that is really going to help you to make changes. Now bring your hand to your opposite knee, and then just gently look over your shoulder. And you could here, if you like that feeling of having some feedback, bring your opposite hand around the back of your ribs. You're going to try and breathe into the rib cage there. And then slowly bring yourself around to the other side. Again, you may like that feeling of feedback. Try and keep a lovely sense of length through your spine. And then breathe into that side of the rib cage. And then slowly come back to the centre, and again just come back to where we started, so hands around the ribs, and just feel whether you can get any more movement. And hope, you know, it may not happen today, especially if this is the first time you've done these exercises. You may feel like you have no idea what I'm talking about and that's really normal, but just try and check in with it. Just notice, and the more you do it, the more you will find that you start to get a little bit more movement every time, until you start to, that you can really feel like you're using your ribs. And you know, I like to think that my breathing's not too bad, but you know, I can feel the change in that 11 minutes we've been here, and it's changed my breathing, which has set me up for the day brilliantly. So try and do this as regularly as you can throughout the week.